Good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday morning, and I just want to give a brief recap on my attempt to do a dry pour concrete slab. Slab was about 40 by 40. A lot of good videos on YouTube on how to accomplish that. Ones I used the most was the Cajun couple. They've done multiple dry pour videos with good success, and I wanted to see if I could do it. So the number one takeaway with during a dry pour, and hopefully if you're watching this, you've done a traditional concrete pour before. What I will say is when you do a traditional pour, you are on concrete's time. And if you start pouring at 5 p.m. on a Sunday night and it's 50 degrees out, and the slabs of good size like mine were like 5 by 15 feet, you might be working that concrete till 2 or 3 in the morning. Temperature might be a little cool and the concrete's not setting. Maybe you've put a little bit too much water in the concrete, and you're on concrete's time. With the dry pour, concrete is on your time. If you get tired, if you get busy, if you get pulled away, it's just powder and it's not going anywhere. If you have to cover it up with some plastic or something and take a break, no problem. So that's the biggest advantage of the dry pour. And then that also goes into like when you screed it and finish it, like there's no rush. You're not under a panic. You're not worrying if you're going to lose all that concrete. You're not worrying about the concrete mixer. Is it getting hard in the concrete mixer? So it's less stressful. But I will say, whether it be a traditional method or a dry method of concrete's a lot of work, especially for one person. I do almost everything myself. And even with the dry concrete, it kicked my butt a little bit on Sunday. It was only eight 60-pound bags of concrete. I think my 5 by 15 slabs were like 50 bags of concrete or something per slab. So it wasn't nearly as much concrete or as many bags, but it still was hard. And even though it's only a 40 by 40 inch concrete slab, screeding it is a little bit of a challenge. It's kind of hard to reach 40 inches to make sure your 2 by 4 is staying level and you're getting good pressure on the back side of it. If I had a second person, it would have been way easier. But just the way I do things and don't ask for help and try to accomplish everything myself. So it was still difficult. So going down my other lessons learned, one mistake or one area that you'll see in these pictures where it was a little challenging was back by the shed. It was hard to screed where the dry concrete came up to the shed. This is an entryway to my shed, and hindsight's 2020. I wish this is my first time ever doing concrete with this shed, and I wish I would have did my whole slab at one time. Even like the ramps I'm building up to the shed and then the shed entrance, like I wish I would have done all that first before I started building, but it is what it is. So even if it was a traditional pour, it would have been pretty hard to screen up by the shed entrance, but it probably would have went better. It's a little challenge to screed the dry concrete to get the stones beneath the surface and get the good powder and the good finish up at the top. So that was one lesson learned. I bought too much concrete. I estimated that 40 by 40 slab would have taken 12 bags of 60-pound concrete, and I was way wrong. It was I used 2 by 4s as my forms, and probably down about 4 inches, and it was way too much. So I only used 8 bags, and that doesn't sound too bad, except I estimated for 2 additional pours. So I had 56 bags. I ordered 56 bags of concrete from Lowe's, and I think at most I'll use 30 on the 2 more pours. I have a hose reel pad I want to pour, and then my walkout basement, my sliding glass door, I want a concrete pad there as well. And I'm going to end up with 20 or 25 bags of extra concrete that I'm not looking forward to loading in my truck and returning to Lowe's. So I don't know, maybe I'll find another project to use the concrete for. I don't know. When I did the traditional method, the wet method of pouring concrete, one of the tips was to lube or oil. I use WD-40, the forms, so they're easier to pull away from the slab. I didn't do that for the dry concrete. Honestly, I forgot. But may not have worked anyway because maybe the powder would have just sucked up the oil, the WD-40, and maybe it could have did a funny thing to the powder. I don't know. But I had some challenge when I pulled the form, off the concrete, and I did. It did pull away a small corner of the concrete. I think I'll be able to fix it. But I'm wondering if I had lubed the 2x4s, would I avoided that? Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know. But when I do the next pours, I think I will lube them and see the results of that. Another lesson learned, I wish I wouldn't have started with my shed entrance first, because that's going to be, eyeballs are going to be on that shed entrance. I am pouring a hose reel slab next to the house, pouring that slab so there's no like grass or anything, or I don't have to put that hose reel like in rocks. So a platform for that hose reel to sit on is going to be great, but that's going to be a hidden one. And I wish I would have poured that one first and had all these lessons learned. That one won't have eyeballs on it, and wish I would have did that one first. So that's a lesson learned. Sprayed after. Again, my pour was 4 inches deep, and when I pulled the forms, I still felt like some damp powder. I don't want to say dry powder, but it was, it wasn't concrete yet. And after I pulled the forms, I continued to water. And I watered into the second day. The Cajun couple said, rule of thumb, 2 waterings per inch of concrete pour. So mine were 4 inches, so that would have said 8 soakings, 8 sprays. And I'm probably up to 10 or 12. So I just noticed when I pulled the forms that it didn't turn into concrete. So I added an extra day to spraying the concrete. Like the Cajun couple, they bragged about like how strong the concrete is, and I don't know why I chose to pour 4-inch slab for my shed entrance. It's only going to be foot traffic, and they took a 2x4 and laid it on its side, so it's only 1.5 inch deep of concrete. And I wish I would have did that. I think I did overkill. Would have saved some more money. Probably been 4 bags of concrete, and it probably would have set better. I definitely wouldn't have had to soak it like 10 to 12 times. So I don't know why I did that either. I went above and beyond. I also put down gravel, and I did put in rebar, or not rebar, but a steel mesh in there. That's how I did the shed slab, and I just did that. I have a ton of 57 stone here at the house, so all that stuff was available. Still was a lot of work. I mentioned that for one person. And the other thing I did was I chickened out on the broom finish. I talked to the Cajun couple, and they suggested put the broom finish in it while it's still powder. I chickened out. You use a paint roller to finish the powder, and it just looks so beautiful. And I struggled a lot up by the shed entrance of screeding it, and I had that finished pretty good, and I worked hard. I was tired. It was 3 or 4 hours probably of prep work, and I just couldn't put the broom on it because I was scared of messing it up, and I was out of energy. But when I do the hose reel pour, I will attempt to do a broom finish. The Cajun couple, they just used an alligator skin pattern and put in their concrete, and it worked terrific. It was a roller for like painting a house or painting a room, and it turned out great. So I'm sure a broom finish will work. Just don't know like how light you have to drag the broom across the powder. Again, I didn't want to expose all those rocks and have to screed it again. Like I was tired. So they were all my lessons learned. The things I was happy with. The pour does slope away from the house. You'll see that in the pictures. Not the house, I'm sorry, the shed. It slopes away one direction. Then I also have it sloping like downhill as well. between a half and 1 degree. Nothing crazy, but happy with how I leveled the forms and actually how the concrete set and everything. The concrete set according to my forms. So super happy with that. It looks pretty good. It's still wet. Like that shed blocks my sun, so although it absorbs the water quickly, it still stays that dark gray right now. It's just going to take it a few days to dry out. I really think that's because the sun's blocking it. I may put a fan on it out there because I'd like to see the finished result. It's just taking a while to dry completely. You'll see spotches where it's dried, but most of it's still wet. So looks pretty good. It's really cheap. Like I said, it was $40. I think I mentioned that. And if I would have did an inch and a half pours, that pour could have been like 20 bucks, you know. So it was super cheap. Wish I did hose reel first. I talked about that. I wish I would have did the hose reel first. That would have been much better practice. And just in closing, I have 2 more dry pours to do, and I'll get better at it. Again, I wish I wouldn't have did the one that's gonna get the most looks, but I don't know why I did that. I was building a Trex ramp into the shed, so I guess I was just geared up to get all the entrances done to the shed. But I got ambitious, and I went with that. So I had a sod cutter, and I removed all the grass. So like that was starting to be a mud area, and I really just needed to. I wanted that concrete there, but in hindsight, I wish I would have did one of the other pours first, just to learn. But it is what it is. It's done now. If I have to come back and fiddle with the concrete to make it look better, I can. You know, it's definitely. And if I don't like it, I can just break it up and re-pour it. It was only 40 bucks. So, but I'm getting wore out. This has been about a 6-month project on this building the shed from start to finish, and it's good enough for now. And maybe in the future I'll massage that finish a little bit or just re-pour it. But she's done. I want to thank that Cajun couple. They answered a lot of questions I had. Super good people. Encourage you to view their channel. Their dry pour concrete, I think, is up to 3.4 million views, so they've gone viral. Good for them. They explain things great. They add some humor. They're building everything by hand. They're building this enormous house, just the 2 of them, and they just really encourage you to go out and do great things, and they show you how to do it, and just awesome. It's there's a lot of bad things about the internet, but like YouTube videos like this and just sharing knowledge is perfect use of the internet. So thank the Cajun couple, and told them I was going to make a video for my results, and here it is. So what follows now is going to be pictures. I couldn't shoot video. Again, I was doing this by myself. I wasn't setting up cameras and stuff, but I took pictures, and you'll see everything I just talked about. All right, thanks.